As is the case every Sunday, we just heard just a small portion of John's Gospel. Years ago, some committee at the Vatican decided where the Gospel for Easter morning should begin and where it would end. So we just heard from John chapter 20, verses 1 through 9. What we didn't hear was John chapter 20, verses 1 through 10. Why did the Gospel Committee end the Gospel at verse 9? What's in verse 10? The passage we just heard, if it includes verse 10, goes like this. When Simon Peter arrived, he went into the tomb and saw the burial cloths there. Then the other disciple also went in, and he saw and believed. For they did not yet understand the scripture that he had to rise from the dead. Then the disciples returned home. They went home. Breaking news! Jesus Christ is risen from the dead. Let's go home. That's where the guys went. And I do mean the guys. The men went home. Mary Magdalene, who had been the first to arrive, she came so early that it was still dark when she got there. She was the last to leave. She didn't go home with the guys. She stayed there. And the risen Jesus appeared to her. But that story is in John chapter 20, verses 11 through 18. Mary Magdalene was the first to arrive. She had gone there to anoint the body of Jesus. The scriptures tell us that on the way to the tomb, she was worried about who would move away the big stone that was blocking the entrance, sealing the tomb. But when she got there, she saw that the heavy lifting had been done. And that's actually a very good way to talk about Easter. That's what Easter is all about. The really heavy lifting has been done for us already. For you and for me. And not just the heavy lifting of moving that stone that sealed the tomb. There was also the heavy lifting of Good Friday. The work of being unjustly accused and condemned for our sakes. The work of being mocked, spat upon, humiliated, crowned with thorns. The work of carrying a cross to one's own crucifixion, of suffering the nails of execution, the work of dying for others. All that work has already been done for you and for me. The weightiest of all work, Jesus carrying on his shoulders our sin and guilt, the sin and guilt of all humankind. All that heavy lifting has been done for us. And that is the mercy of God. That's the mercy of Jesus, the most innocent of all, who suffered, who did the heavy lifting for us so that we could be spared. But that doesn't mean that there isn't still some work left for you and me to do. It's not too late to do what Mary Magdalene did. When she found that the heavy lifting had been done for her, she ran to tell the guys that she had seen the risen Lord. If this Easter we believe that Jesus has done the work for us, if this Easter we believe that Jesus rose from the dead, then ours is the work of sharing that good news with others. Maybe with those who came to church with us this morning, with whomever we might meet the rest of this day. Now, some folks, maybe many folks, perhaps most folks, would rather try to roll back the stone from the tomb than spend 1 minute sharing their faith with another human being. Because that's harder. But it doesn't have to be all that hard. Suppose on the way home from church this morning, in your car, or wherever you're going today for Easter dinner, whoever you might meet today, whoever you might call today, or text or email, suppose you were to ask any of those folks the simple question, what does Easter mean to you? You can even tell them that the priest at Mass told you should do that. Ask the question, what does Easter mean to you? Then take a few minutes and listen to what the other person says. And then maybe in just a few sentences, tell the other person what Easter means to you. You might simply share that Easter gives you hope, or reassures you of God's forgiveness, or prompts you to live a better, fuller Christian life. You might say that Easter this year has caused you to think again about God and faith and prayer in your life. You might just say that Easter reminds you that Jesus has done the heavy lifting of forgiveness. And now that it's our work to forgive others as he forgave us. Or today, when the conversation turns to immigration, or the economy, or war, or politics, or court decisions, or the First and Second Amendments, do the heavy lifting of asking out loud, what do you think Easter has to do with all those things? Of course, it might be the case that each of us needs to ask ourselves first, what do I think Easter has to do with all those things? And just for the record, I am not trying to suggest, much less tell you, what I think Easter has to do with those issues. I only know for sure that if we fail to connect the victory of Jesus at Easter over death with the world's pain, division, discord, and violence, if we fail to make that connection, then Jesus has suffered and died in vain. If we don't search for and find the risen Jesus in the world's current events, if we don't find Jesus to somehow be the answer to our life's problems, we're not likely to find him here in this holy space this morning. The good news is Jesus rose from the dead and calls us to bring the healing message of mercy and peace to every facet of human life on this planet of ours. Well, I guess that is a lot of work, huh? And that is heavy lifting. But it's the work that Christians are called to do. And not just on Easter Sunday, but every day of the year. However, for the moment, for now, the lifting we have to do is lighter, because our work is to come to this table, the Lord's altar, and to move nothing heavier than our hearts, however heavy our hearts might be this morning. To move and lift our hearts up to the Lord with thanksgiving to him who did all the heavy lifting for us on the cross and offers us now his life and peace in the communion, in the bread and cup of the Eucharist. Breaking news, folks. Jesus Christ is risen from the dead. And he's got a little work for us to do.